Shrimad's divine grace, founder of Iskana Bhai, Charanarabhana Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam ki, their most merciful Lordship, Shri Shri Hari ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev Mahesabhadra ki, Shri Nataji, Shri Balagopal ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki, Nitai Gopri. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the Lord Spirit of Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tautayam Udhiraya Nastaprasya Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. Offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who with the torchlight of knowledge has opened my darkened eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. We are reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, Text 24. Sa va ayam saki anugita sat kato savayam sakyanugita sat kato
Savayam sakyanugita satkato
Vedeshu Guyeshu Cha Guya Vadibi Vedeshu Guyeshu Cha Guya Vadibi Ya Eka Isho Jaga Atma Lilaya Ya Eka Isho Jagadatma Lilaya Srijati Avati Ati Na Tatra Sajate Srijati Avati Ati Na Tatra Sajate Savayam Sakyanugita Satkato
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 Vedeshu Guyeshu Chaguya Vadibi Vedeshu Guyeshu Chaguya Vadibi Vedeshu Guyeshu Chaguya Vadibi Ya Eka Isho Jagaratma Lilaya Ya Eka Isho Jagadatma Lilaya Ya Eka Isho Jagadatma Lilaya Srijatya Bhatyati Tatra Sajjate Srijatya Bhatyati Tatra Sajjate Srijatya Bhatyati Nasatra Sajjate
Savayam sakyanugita satkato
Savayam Sakyanugita Satkato
Vedeshu Guyeshu Chaguya Vadibi
Ya Eka Isho Jagadatma Lilaya Srijatya Bhatyati Nasatra Sajjate Natatra Sajjate Sa He by also I am this Shaki, oh my friend, Anugita described, Satkata the excellent pastimes, Vedeshu in the Vedic literature, Guyeshu confidentially, Cha as also, Guyavaribi by the confidential devotees. Ya, one who, Eka, one only, Isha, the supreme controller, Jagat, of the complete creation, Atma, super soul, Dilaya, by manifestation of pastimes, Srijati, creates, Avatyati, also maintains and annihilates, Na, never, Tatra, there, Sajjate, becomes attached to it. Sava ayam sakyanugita satkato vedeshu guyeshu chaguyavanibi yaeka isho jagarat malilaya srijatya vyatye na tatra sajjate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Oh dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead, whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by His great devotees. It is He only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, and yet remains unaffected. Please repeat. Oh, dear friend, here is that very personality of Godhead,
Here is that very personality of God,
whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by His great devotees. It is He only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, and yet remains unaffected. Oh, my dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by His great devotees. It is He only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, and yet remains unaffected. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, all the Vedic literatures are glorifying the greatness of Lord Sri Krishna. Here it is confirmed in the Bhagavatam also. The Vedas are expanded by many branches and sub-branches by great devotees and empowered incarnations of the Lord, like Vyas, Narad, Sukadeva, Goswami, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahlad, Janaka, Bali, Yamaraj. But in Shrimadbhagavatam especially, confidential parts of his activities are described by the confidential devotee, Sukadeva Goswami. In the Vedanta Sutras, or Upanishads, there is only a hint of the confidential parts of his pastimes. In such Vedic literatures as the Upanishads, the Lord has expressively been distinguished from the mundane conception of His existence, His identity being fully spiritual, His form, name, quality, and paraphernalia, etc., have been elaborately distinguished from matter. Therefore, He is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent persons as impersonal. Jai Shri Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Shri. But factually, He is the Supreme Person, Bhagavan, and He is partially represented as Paramatma, or impersonal from. Om Gyanatamaranisya Gyananjana Shanakaya Chakshusumalitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave. Here, Krishna is leaving for Dwarka. Now, this is the name of the chapter. And who is describing this? I haven't been here for a couple of days. Okay. Who is him? Okay. Uddhava and Satyaki began to fan the Lord with decorated fans, and the Lord, as the master of Madhu, seated on scattered flowers, commanded them along the road. This is being described. Krishna is leaving for Dwarka. Do you know who's describing this? I know Sukadeva Goswami, but Sukadeva Goswami is describing the events that are taking place as Krishna is leaving. Now he's describing this term, confidential information. It's very significant because we see in these literatures a revealing of details of other literatures without it necessarily word for word saying this is so, but giving the innermost purports to reveal the purpose of the speaker, like Lord Buddha. Now, Buddhists of today are saying there is no God. This revelation of God as the divine light, this is the vision of Mayavadis. This is the vision that is described in the Bible as being had by Paul, who is exalted as an apostle of Christ. My understanding of the meaning of apostle was that he had personal association, more so than a disciple. Disciple would be referring to the term that Paul is fitting with. He never had personal association with the person that followed Christ. And we see the influence of his military power he held over even the followers who were writing about Christ to write certain philosophical conclusions that the person they called Jesus never himself made statements about. And so they are more so being led by Paul, whose concept of God is the impersonal concept being spoken here of as the divine, all-powerful light, which was common amongst the Greeks and the Romans at that time. God was a powerful force. And this is the light. Lord Chaitanya revealed to the Mayavadis at that time of his day that they were looking for to be found in him so strongly they couldn't have seen it with ordinary eyes. It's described as having been stronger than billions of suns. Lord Chaitanya was revealing this as that the yogis were looking for. This is what God does. That which we envision in our minds of him to be, that he appears to us in that form. This is how he does from culture to culture to culture throughout the world's history and throughout the civilizations of the world's history of him. We see him giving instructions according to time and circumstance. So now, most practitioners on the spiritual path would say, because Buddhists are saying there is no God, that they're going to hell automatically. This is what would be believed in the mind of a practitioner of quote-unquote Christianity, which is not necessarily the same form that the person they're calling Jesus was himself presenting, because he knew who Buddha was. So Lord Buddha had to misdirect those followers of quote-unquote religion who were not themselves following the practices properly. So in their mispractice and disqualification from the application of the mantras, the animals were dying in the sacrifice rather than getting a new body. The same way Mother Sita, when she came with Ram out of the forest, she proved herself by going into the fire and came out untouched. The purity of Mother Sita Devi and her love for Ram. As a queen, she didn't have to go out into the forest with Ram, but to reveal the pastimes of love. And this is all the stories in Bhagavatam, all the great manifestations described by the great sages of old who have given as Goswamis, and those renunciates of old who have given by their realizations of confidential information that they got themselves personally from Krishna. So just as Krishna adapts his beloved servants to the culture they are born in, to be able to give that culture higher knowledge, even amongst devotees, because confidential, the meaning of it is such that he can give personal knowledge to someone that he gives to no one else. It's what he did to Arjuna on the battlefield, although he later revealed it to others. He was giving it to Arjuna as he had never given it before by his own statement. He was revealing it. So this is what is the meaning of personal and confidential. So as you've walked on the path of Mormonism, you find the inside teachings, the meanings of it, the applications, and now how to bring that to those that you've made friendships with amongst those. And you wouldn't be able to share those confidential teachings with Christians who think of the Mormons as going to hell. But you could share something confidential to them that the Mormons might look at the Christians as thinking that they're going to hell. And it's the way, quote unquote, spirituality has become manifest now in this age of Kali Yuga. Those who should be united in their loving force of developing pure, holy, sacred love that manifests in the lives of all the living entities who are on this path of eternalness, of eternal spirituality, realizing the activities of our very human lives can be that which we continue in the next stage of our development into the eternal realm. That will be a beginning. We haven't started yet. Till we get out of these physical bodies, we will begin our path of eternalness in full realization. Because we're still, our bodies are tainting us, are preventing us from fully being able to realize the totality, the substance of the eternal that we are the substance of the eternal. I get the realization the other day. See, what is included in the description of the soul as being made of knowledge, we're getting a little glimpse of. Even in that confidential relationship we're having with Krishna, because he's only able to give to us what we're able to accept from him, or what we have revealed to him as we're capable of accepting. Same way, Arjuna was saying, okay, Krishna, I had enough. I can't take it anymore. Please turn it off now. Go back to your original form. It's scary. This universal form that he was showing, in which he was swallowing the armies up. Fire coming out of his mouths. So that's his universal form. Krishna can reveal to us. And see, this is a point I'm wanting to make in all of my classes now. I don't know if devotees, because I haven't heard this kind of preaching by devotees myself, but I'm getting an experience with this Gayatri mantra. Oh my God, it's putting me in my place, helping to realize where we are in the universe. It sets you in your place in the universe. And then it gives you entrance into the person being worshipped on the sun. It's not worship of the sun in itself, but recognizing the order that the universe has been put into by the one from whom everything is coming from. And then recognizing that position, then, the one who sits on that throne in the center of the universe is the one giving us this knowledge about him. So that this Gayatri being chanted, when the practitioner is in his mind trying to realize the meaning of the mantras, which we're doing with each one of these mantras, the mind, the soul, setting its attention for the force of the mind to be engulfing itself in this knowledge about that, puts it in that place that it belongs to be, it's supposed to be in its relationship in this universe. Because without these mantras putting us in the place to conceive of them in our minds, we wouldn't have the proper conceptualization that this universe has been put into. Because we would have our own speculation, maybe what we could find from a telescope or whatever. But having been given the description in the mantra from the Guru, from Krishna, as Krishna says at the beginning of the universe, he implanted these conceptualizations within the hearts and minds and mind of the one who is seated, who was at that time seated on that throne. In the center of the universe, that is the position Brahma. But Brahma has a separate position from Indra. Indra is ruling the heavenly planets only. But Brahma is in control of the entire universe. That's a higher position. But from the appearance, Brahma, from the appearance of the song we sing at 7 o'clock, Brahma has offered that seat to Lord Chaitanya. And this also puts in our minds conceptualization about God and about the nature of those who reside in God's city, in God's eternal dwelling. Because he's manifesting on this earth the same manner, the same etiquettes, the same personal relationships that they are sharing in the spiritual realm. And that's what he's bringing us, drawing us to, through all of the recitation of these mantras that we develop the meanings of. These conceptualizations in our minds are actually what reality is. So we are actually being given a reality, the substance the soul can actually relate to. Because that which we are, the substance of knowledge that we are, is the same substance these Vedas are made of. Is your palm, you get a mosquito bite in the middle of your What is it?
Cold.
Oh, cold.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
It's freezing in here.
When Adiraj was temple president, he bought a big, one of those heaters, great big kerosene heaters. Kerosene. Whew. Couldn't breathe. You had to solve one problem, then another problem, right? The nature of the material world. But the nature of Krishna's words are undefeatable, eternally standing on a foundation that was before everything existed. Truth was. Before everything in the material universe existed, truth was there in Krishna, and his activities that we're reading about were going on. So valuable these teachings are to fill our minds with, and that we have access to these teachings now. But they're not just teachings. They're actual activities that are going on as we read them. In billion, we can't count how many universes there are in which Krishna has advented into. And now, even though we are reading and seeing it, every pastime he takes part in is a unique and individual pastime in and of itself. But because of its nature, because of Krishna's nature, the soul's nature that are taking part in it, and the fact that they are interacting with Krishna, puts that conceptualization of it that we have in our minds forming while we're reading, makes it a real experience for the soul. Because while we're doing that, we're formulating ideas about how we feel about Krishna's taking part in those activities. And so that's what Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is explaining about relationships. And we do this with Krishna. So the same way that we're being trained to do it with one another and find the food that we get, that the soul gets nourished by, with the words that we speak to one another about Krishna's activities, then when we come face to face with Krishna, then that same relationship that we've been having with each other is going to be increased that much more when we actually now we know we're tapping into the very source. We are drops of the source which we feed each other off of. But when we come into the source of all the drops, and then the source, he unloads himself on us. What do you want? Krishna said, what do you want? It just unloads on you, Then you have to realize in your mind, what would Krishna be happy about me asking for? What would make Krishna happy if I asked him for something? What would make him happy? What do you think would make Krishna happy? So in our minds, see, we have the opportunity because Krishna's giving us the knowledge that he's sharing his body with us. He's knowing every thought we're having at every moment. He wants us to experience the highest experiences. That's what love is, the highest. If anybody can explain to me in a higher experience this human form can have than love, I'd like to know what it is. I'd like to know. That term we describe God as, Krishna, has the meaning of all attractive. So, could power attract everybody? Could fame attract everybody? Krishna is full of all these six, it's described as 6 specific qualities all human beings are looking for. Knowledge, strength, fame, renunciation, beauty, and one strength. Did I say strength? Power, right? Yeah. And so, but see, love in Krishna is revealed by Krishna to be even more powerful than all these other aspects of his personality. And how do human beings manifest that back to him? And that's what all these engagements that Srila Prabhupada has so kindly introduced through the philosophy of Vedic culture. 9 processes that we can engage in, each and every one of them significantly powerful enough to give us the ability, by engaging in them and concentrating our energies, our minds, our thoughts on the engagement of them and perfecting our abilities to perform those functions that we find ourselves capable of in Krishna consciousness, will guarantee by the scriptures, by statement of Krishna, who is the one giving promise of all these things that everybody is looking for on the spiritual path, heavenly plights they're looking for. Do you know what Buddhists look for? What their hope for at the end of life is? You know what they look for? Do you know what they look for?
Nirvana.
Nirvana, right, it's described as. Which is also very similar to the meaning of Vaikuntha. Is it not? It's a place without anxieties. What isn't the meaning of nirvana?
Liberation.
Liberation. Liberation from birth, death, old age, and disease, but they have to then. Is it impersonal?
I don't know much. Is it personal, impersonal? Should be.
Do they see themselves as returning to Lord Buddha or being rejoined with Buddha? This is the Buddha Tattva. What is it, Bodhisattva? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Bodhisattva, the one who goes and turns around and comes back, stands in the doorway to bridge everyone else.
Is that what Bodhisattva is?
Yeah, but the Bodhisattva
He is a mediator.
he has come into enlightenment, but he didn't step into it. He stays there to teach.
Okay. Now, is he taking incarnation over and over and over again? Is he the Lama? Is he manifesting as the Lama? The Dalai Lama?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. No, see, that's how, similarly to Christianity, Buddhism itself as well has branched into many different divisions, isn't it?
Well, until like the 1700s, the Catholic Church taught reincarnation.
Right. Yep. And it's very clear in the Bible when it says, I have known you before the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. And so this seems to be evidence. God doesn't judge without reason. This would be unreasonable. And yet, by using the same form of judgment concluded by that simple statement, that God could judge you without you having done anything before. If there is no such law as reincarnation, that would make that statement very prejudicial on the part of God, to make a judgment before anyone had shown any evidence of their being good or evil. Of course, he knows beforehand, but he knows by the fact of the results of the engagement the living soul is taking part in the material energy. He knows all of its involvement because he's super soul with that soul. He knows what its effect is going to be. And see, that's what we are also a part of. That has been that is truth, we are made of, and it is also a part of us. So that we call the Akash, the reason we can access it as souls is because that is a part of the energy that we are made of. Just like this body is part of the materials this earth is made of. So the soul is made of the substance of truth. And that includes all truth. It's the thing that I came to the realization of. The substance that truth is always has been. So think about that. So that means included in truth is past, present, and future. And this is how, like Edgar Cayce, for example, was able to tap into this N4C, just like John, foreseer. On the Isle of Patmos, here he is on an island, separated from all of humanity, so to speak, being punished by people because he was practicing a different faith, division, again, people, and given great revelation by God to foresee things that have been happening ever since, subliminally, on another unseen environment that's happening simultaneously, just as these pastimes are going on in other universes which we can't see. There are things going on within this universe on a big, big, huge scale that we can't see. And we get writings about them that take place from time to time, and we think, well, that just happened millions of years ago. But those living entities that had the ability to move the earth out of its axis, what kind of a living being is that? This is what's being described in Bhagavatam, when Krishna himself is having to take a form to fight this demon that has the ability to move the earth's axis out of place. He submerged it into the causal ocean. That's huge. Think of a body that would have to be, how big a body would have to be able to move the earth entirely. And so, see, this is why I want to have presentation, because I could show by drawing the universe. The universe is a huge globe, also floating, much as the planets are. The planets are also hollow, small replicas of the big one. They're smaller replicas of the universe itself, just like every man is said to be described as in writings of old. I'd rather put the words of Islam that remain to be truth. Because see, even though we may disagree with the conclusions present-day followers of the Quran are making about present-day situation in order to promote spirituality, we get truth from every source that is provided. So this is how we consider it an offense against the Vedas or any writing that is in conclusion of the Vedas. So when the statement is made, the Bible is saying that God is making the statement, I knew you before you were born, before the womb. It gives credence by a reasonable thinking person to the concept that the soul that is being born had previous activities, that God is determining what that soul has as its desires, as its important purpose for being. And we all have within ourselves the ability to determine that. And that in and of itself Krishna reveals is the determining factor of where he's going to put us. Where we put our desires is where he's going to put us. That's why it's so important we know significantly how important to purify our desires and to only want those things that will draw us closer to that supreme, divine, inspirational relationship with the supreme, divine person whose consciousness, our consciousness, can share. That's what God is providing for us through this communion with our consciousness, conceptualizing ideas about him that he has given us to conceptualize. And this creates in the mind the experience we're longing for. So by absorbing God's words, contained in those words of God are God's feelings. So when God says, don't kill, don't commit murder, he's revealing his feelings for the protecting of mankind. He's revealing to us that he wants to protect us from our own selves. And still we go on doing it nevertheless. Yeah. And we divide ourselves from one another simply by beliefs we create in our minds. And it's good to realize then, as the day progresses, by every moment we are experiencing due to the thoughts and desires we have created by free will as souls, and the tendencies to develop habits very strong in the soul because of this nature of being eternal. It wants to find its place eternally. So once it's grabbing onto something that it considers very important, its natural nature is to develop a habit around the things it considers important. And so if we make that to be pure love of God, we make pure love of God to be that which we constantly are searching to be completed in, constantly searching the scriptures to find in the heart of God. And that's what we'll find. If you go to the car lot looking for a Volkswagen, there might be a Rolls Royce there for the same price maybe. Some old guy just wants to give it to somebody else to enjoy. But if you're not looking for the Rolls Royce, you'll only find the Volkswagen. Now you'll have a lot of better gas mileage. But see, heaven provides a long life. But it's not the spiritual world. And this is what is separating us from other spiritual paths. We can see through it all, and they don't know that. We can see through their prejudices. We can see through their judgments and what they use, because we've been willing enough to desire to know God by being willing to study all the writings that say they are revealing aspects of God. And in that, ultimately, God leads you to himself eventually. And it's not to say that people won't find God in any one of those paths. But each path is revealing itself to have various aspects of the same person. So, if we can be open enough to believe how great God is, to have established all of these paths for the benefit of humankind, which is what he does in establishing all communication with mankind, and yet they turn it on him and blame him for the wars, blame him for mankind's atrocities, in fact. And now, I got this realization this morning of what this changing of genders is. Think about this. It's a mutilization. It's a mutilation of their physical bodies and their young children having not reached the age of accountability yet. If they want to change permanently, because once these operations are performed, so it's genital mutilation. What it really is, a genital mutilation that they're making legal. And not only legal, they're forcing these children against the parents' will in some cases. They're going to pay heavy karma for that because they are changing the path of the child. The path of the child is left into the hands of the parents who are obeying God. And if that responsibility is taken away from the parents and put into the hands of whoever it's put into the hands of, they better have good advice, better than the parents do, or they're really going to seriously be causing themselves some heavy-duty karma. All their offspring will be cursed. They're taking the offspring another innocent individual. Think of it like that. These parents that have children who have been deranged to believe that they have to mutilate their body to become what they want to be. And they're being taught by teachers that they want something. They don't even know what it is. Does a man know what a woman is? If he carries over that knowledge, which is rare, but the curiosity is there in a child to know every experience of life. So what man doesn't have the idea to know what a woman might be thinking or what she might want? But curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity, if the cat was getting liberated, that's one thing. But from the perspective of death, causing an end to its ability to perform the functions it has in this world, we shouldn't be mutilating the bodies of young children and thinking of it as something good and beneficial for the child to have in its mind the way that it was born, unequal or imperfect or whatever. You're perfect the way you are because you're carrying out the functions you need to fulfill why you came to this universe, is to fulfill the demands karma puts upon you so that you will become better next time around. This time is better than the last time around. And if you want to make next time around better than this time, you have, by realizing the truth that life is given to us for, you can take the teachings of the spiritually realized, apply them to your lives, and also no matter what condition of life you find yourself in, rich, poor, old, young, sick, healthy, strong, weak, whatever, learn, ignorant. If you simply apply the spiritual principles of taking the eternal sound vibration of the name from which every form of life there is that has manifested in this material universe has come from Krishna, and combined with the name, the original name of the energy of Krishna, Hare, combined with the original name of the pleasure that God himself is having all the time, Rama. And you combine these three words and mix it with your will and determination to use all the energy that you are energy, and by your free will, You can determine what your life is used for, and you use this life for the eternal purpose of that eternal energy you are singing the name of. And your experience will be shared with you by that one whose name you are calling upon, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And we will know what life, human life, is meant to experience. This is the key to being a human being, is knowing what is contained in the name of God. Everything we're looking for is there to be found. Krishna. Jai. It is 9 o'clock a.m. our time, so I will have to end class and ask, does anyone have any questions about anything at all? Jai. All questions been answered. It's all there in his name. So actually, one who is realized has knowledge that everything, we have everything. And everything is always available. And it will be experienced by the mind who is setting its attention towards experiencing that eternalness. And that eternalness will be the experiential development obtained by continuous effort towards that experience. You get what you want, and you get what you pay for. So we develop the desire to have what is best for us, and we'll get that. We're willing to pay the price for it. And that means give your life, and you get the greatest. If you give your life to the source of all life, who knows why he gave us life to begin with. We were breathed out of him. God, Jai. Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.